you tell us why the Lego honor, you created the Lego honor. You literally wrote the honor itself. You created. Can you tell us why why Legos are important to you in 60 seconds?
To start in 60 seconds or in 60 seconds?
In 60 seconds, if you can, because we're gonna start the honor now. But go ahead. Why are Legos important to you?
So it's pretty easy. 2013, I was at a convention in Chicago. I had a 6.5 foot tall angel, which I can show you pictures of later in my little slide presentation. It was this kind of weird building that looked kind of like an angel meets Transformers, you know, meets just this weird stuff. But throughout the whole model, I'd hidden little Bible verses, and in those Bible verses, they were all related to angels of light, right? When angels have come and spoken to man in different parts of the Bible. Conventions are usually on Saturday and Sundays. And so I didn't really feel comfortable being there on Saturday morning when I felt like I should have been in church. And right before I was about ready to leave to go to Bolingbrook SDA Church, there was a big thunderstorm rolling in, and I decided, you know what? I'm not going to drive down through this big thunderstorm and drive back. I'm going to stay here. And God, if I stay here, I want you to provide me with opportunities to evangelize. And it was nonstop. It was all day. I got to talk to people about God literally all day, share Bible verses. And at the end of the day, I realized that a simple little toy allowed me to share my faith with people that I would have never been able to talk to them about God.
Wow. So Legos is a lifestyle, it's a form of communication, but it's also a ministry, and that's powerful. That's powerful. Well, without further ado, Professor, we opened up and we pray for the students, but I want to take a moment and pray for you as you teach today's class. So let's pray together, everyone. Father in heaven, we are so grateful for my brother, my friend, Ralph Holbrook. God, I'm grateful for the legacy that exists in his family, the contribution they've made, his father being the former Pathfinder director for the Adventist Church, but also Ralph being able to take Pathfinders and engage in it as a ministry that's meaningful for him and developing the Lego honor. We pray as our students listen today, they would be inspired to use this for fun and for sharing faith. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Ralph, the floor is yours.
All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and dive right into my little PowerPoint that I have set up. So because I wrote the honor, I actually had to create a pilot of this and teach it several times in different areas before I could submit it to be approved by the NAD honor committee. So I'm going to try to share that with you guys. And then at the end, we'll have some questions and stuff like that. So see if I can go to screen share here. And let's see. All right, are you guys able to see it?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. All right. If I say there's no point in me rattling on if you guys can't see what I'm talking about. All right, so there's just my little intro page. Here's a quick overview of the honor. There's lots of terminology. I'm going to go into the terminology a little bit since we have a little bit of time, but I also don't want to focus on it too much because at the end of the day, a Lego brick can be whatever you want it to be, whatever the element is. You can make it look and do whatever you want it to do. There's no limits, there's no rules that say this can't be this. It's all about your own creativity. There's a second part. Oh, you can actually see at the bottom of that screen, written July 2013. So that was the month right after I got done doing the convention in Chicago. All right, so requirements are, you have to know all these things. Element is just a generic word for anything that Lego makes. Brick is the little typical brick that most of us think of. It's actually the same thing that's on the patch. Plate is like 1/3 the size of a brick. Base plates are kind of interesting because they don't have any connections on the bottom of them. They're nice for being able to build stuff and keep it all in one spot. Tiles are smooth on the top. The cool thing is now is they have like an inverted tile. So new things have been made since I wrote this. Slope is pretty easy. Slope goes from just like a few connection points at the top to a bunch of connection points on the bottom. And then the inverted is obviously the same, bunch of connection points on the top with only a few on the bottom. And then there are some of those slopes that actually don't have any connection points on them in either direction. So Hinge. So Hinge, most important thing ever. Little hinge, you know, if you don't have hinges, it makes it really hard for steady movement, solid movement. You can make Lego move just by displacing the bricks, but it's not a stronghold. So having hinges in your models are always fun because it allows for lots of flexibility and certain things you can pose, you know, so if you build a little man, you can, you know, get him to stand the way you want to. Technic bricks. Technic bricks have tons of little holes in them. So here's a little Technic set. You can see a bunch of little holes like that that allow for pins and axles to go through them. They can put gears inside of them, and those things really allow for lots of movement. Power functions. So power functions are lights, motors. Let me see. There we go. Here's a type of motor here on the top. This thing spins around when it's on. You can see there's all sorts of power cords and sensors and stuff like that. Power functions are really fun in the fact that it really allows you to bring life to your model. I just held up MINDSTORMS there. MINDSTORMS is kind of this constant evolution within Lego. They have created different robotic sets over the years. There's one that just came out, and I was going to add it to my PowerPoint, and I forgot to do that. But the ones that I used to work with when I first started doing this stuff was the what is it, NXT robot, and then the EV3 robot. And those are really cool. The EV3 you can control from your smartphone, or you can program it completely to be autonomous, and you know, just push go and it does whatever it is that you programmed it to do. On that note, I'll show up in my slide later, but there are also groups out there for doing robotics within our education system, within public school systems. I strongly recommend getting involved with those. It's called First Robotics, or Lego First Robotics. So I forgot to mention, some of the things on this PowerPoint might not actually show up on the honor, because when I wrote it, it was a pilot. And then when actually NAD honor committee looked at it, they pulled a few things out because they felt like it didn't really apply. So, and then there may have been something that I added in afterwards, just because of talking with Pathfinders, I thought it was important to add when I was teaching it. So the next thing is a Lego user group. Lego user groups are a bunch of old people like myself. You have to have at least 10 or more of you to be recognized by Lego. And Lego supports us in various ways to do these large events and stuff like that, whether it's through funding, or whether it's through Lego or products or whatever it is. Lego is very much about the community creating these events and being out there and having fun. And so for me, I thought it was really cool to kind of maybe do that with Pathfinders in our own way through the Lego honor. I also helped write the robotics honor that got chopped up and resent numerous times. It wound up being 3 or 4 of us that wound up creating parts of the Lego honor. And in the end, everyone's, you know, got little bits and pieces in the robotics honor. When I had originally written the robotics honor and presented my version of it, I had tried to present it so that basically the whole thing was able to do with this. However, these sets are about $300-400 each. I have a bunch of other parts that go with it. And that can be really expensive for a club to try to take on. And so I really liked that when it got rewritten, we were allowed to kind of use generic robotic sets and not just Lego, because Lego can be really expensive. Studs not on top. And I love this one because it's snot and it's funny and it just makes me laugh. So typically when we're building, you know, we're used to seeing, I don't know if you can see this here at the lighting, the studs on top of the car, there, right? That's how we're used to building. So studs going up. When you start getting a little more creative, you'll start finding that you put studs going in almost every direction. And I better not try to pull this off. There you go. You can see there's studs there on the side. So learning how to build not just upwards, you know, stacking bricks on top of each other, but how to build outwards and make more 3D shapes and models and stuff like that is part of the growth experience of building with Lego. When I was a little kid, I just basically built castles, you know, that's all pretty much straight up. And yeah, as I got older, started building other different things. The last little thing here is my own creation, and this is really important to understand. Lego makes tons of sets, and anybody can sit down, follow the instructions, and build whatever Lego tells you to build. There's actually a movie about this, the Lego movie, about, you know, if you always kind of follow the model that's set in front of you, you never learn to do something new, right? So creativity comes from doing something new. That doesn't mean don't buy Lego sets and build them, because there's all sorts of building techniques that are hidden inside Lego sets. So my wife absolutely loves the Speed Champions, which is why I have tons of Speed Champion stuff here to use as examples. So in all those models, look for little techniques and stuff to learn how to do these kind of weird different shapes and stuff like that. And for this honor, you're really supposed to do your own creations, right? If you have never built with Lego ever before, by all means, you know, build something with the instructions, get into it, learn with it. Your walk with God doesn't start by preaching a sermon. Your walk with God starts by opening up the Bible and reading a verse, or closing your hands in prayer. The same walk is true with Lego. So if you've never touched Lego before, by all means, pull out the instructions, build something, get into it, have a good time. Here's some images of just everything. So tons of different elements that you can see. Here's what regular bricks look like, different shapes, different sizes, different colors. Here's plates, those 1/3, you put 3 of those together and they stack up at the same height of the brick. Measurements and math actually become super important in Lego, especially the larger and more complex things that you build. Math becomes so important. And another reason why I wanted to have Lego be an honor for Pathfinders, there is tons of research out there that shows how Lego increases math scores, science scores, all this kind of stuff. So Adventists have been known for our health and our sciences and medicine and stuff like that for a long time. And I really want Adventists to also be known for other kinds of sciences like robotics and mathematics and stuff like that. Base plates. So here's some fun base plates. That little gray base plate might actually be one of the original ones from a space set that I had back in the 80s. Tiles, different types of tiles there. Slopes, you can see they're all kind of, you know, one way. Inverted, they're all going the other way. Hinges. Technics bricks, as I showed you. Key thing with these is movement, right? They allow for rapid movement. There's a bunch of videos out there that show, like, you know, speed tests where these guys will hook them up to like a non-Lego motor and, you know, so many thousand RPMs per second, and these things are almost like catching on fire. It's pretty fun to watch. Power functions. So these are some older power functions now. They've got some more compact, some more powerful power functions. You can see a battery pack there, motors, lights, extension cords, receivers, and then the remote control. Those are really fun. Here's MINDSTORMS again. Here's the 2 different models I was talking about. The red one, the red and white one is the one that I have. The NXT is the older model, and I forget what the new one is right now. I think it's just been announced. I don't think it's available for purchase yet, but I could be wrong about that. So feel free to send me hate mail for not knowing on that one. A lug. So I went over this. These are all adult groups, and I helped create the Toronto Lego user group while I was living up there. And so that was the original information that I included, because that's where I was when I wrote this honor. Explaining studs a little bit more there. Here's some great examples of how you can build the studs going in different directions. I'm going to leave that one there just for a second so everyone can kind of look at it and try to figure out what those pieces are. The middle one, you can see there's like 2 little, they're like Technics axle pieces that if you shove down in a brick, you can stick them either way and they'll hold together that way. I'm not a huge fan of that one because it doesn't have a good clutch power sometimes. I like things that are a little bit sturdier. Somewhere out there on the internet, there's a video of me picking up a 13-foot long spaceship that I built. And, you know, so yeah, I like things that hold together. My own creation, This one I threw in a little bonus question when I was teaching the honor. What do you call it when you use pieces only from one set to create something? And that's called an alternate set design. And you know, ironically, I don't think I have any of those out in front of me. Something I forgot to have ready. So a good example, I actually have posted pictures of these probably on my Facebook. I took this set, and there's another little blue car that goes with the set back there. And I just built some fun stuff using just the pieces just from that set and trying to be creative with a limited number of pieces. When you have this many pieces, it's really easy to build whatever you want, and to try to force yourself to just use a few pieces really focuses your creativity sometimes. My own creation. So this is a little kind of mythological creature that I had done on a micro scale city at one point. And so just showing you some of the weird things that you can do with fun Lego pieces. When I wrote this originally, I wrote it to be taught kind of in several days. Obviously, the amount of time that it takes to build stuff can be anywhere from 15 minutes to maybe several hours. And so I really wanted people to have the time to build these. So if you're teaching this at a club, I would recommend like 3 to 4 full days. And I say full days, where you have an hour or two of class time where you can sit and build, because building and getting the pieces in the right shapes and stuff like that can take some time. So the first requirement, actually technically, sorry, the second requirement is talking about scale. And this one, I just kind of gave some of the general type of scale. A is micro city. So the typical micro city is about 32 studs equals 1 city block. So when you're building scale, if you're going to build like a big city, that's a lot of spaces. So obviously having that much Lego is very difficult. So this is kind of a solution that Lego has kind of come up with. You can see this is downtown Chicago with what used to be the Sears Tower. I forget what it's called now. You guys can hate me for that. But that goes to show you how old I am. And the John Hancock Tower. And I think the horrible thing, I think, is my brother-in-law actually used to work in this building at some time, and I can't remember the name right now. So that's what happens when you start getting old. So that's a good example of micro scale or nano scale, something that's really small. You really shrink it down. Minifigure scale is what most of us are used to, but even minifigure scale can be different kinds of sizes. So when I was a kid, a 4-stud wide car was what we usually had for cars, right? Well, if you do the math, you know, a car, you know, if a minifig's 3 studs wide, roughly with the shoulders, and the car's 4 studs wide, that car really isn't to scale, right? So then Lego started doing a 6-stud car wide, and that definitely gave a lot more shape, a lot more angle and stuff. But even that, I mean, that's barely fitting 2 people in. So I'm really pleased that now they've come out with 8 studs wide, and you can see you would have space for 2 minifigs across. And so way to go on the scales there for Lego. Ultimate collector scale. So this is the really large stuff. This is like the Millennium Falcon type stuff where it's like really big and it's larger than minifig scale. There's a lot of sets out there. They're really expensive. They're really designed for typically 14 years and older. They can be very complex to build. They definitely require a lot of patience and a lot of money. 1-to-1 scale. So 1-to-1 scale is interesting because building 1-to-1 scale can really determine what you want to build. It's very easy to maybe build an apple, but if you're going to build a car, building 1-to-1, which is actual size, real life size, is hard. And I forgot to have my 1-to-1 scale model ready. So I fortunately have pictures of all those. Here's a little view of an X-Wing at micro scale. You can see the tiny little cockpit there with the R2-D2 unit, the little silver dot on top. And then here's a minifig scale. This is a set from a while back ago. Absolutely love it. Here's an ultimate collector scale one. So you can see this is much larger. It comes with its own stand, lots and lots of pieces, really fun. And then here's really cool. This is a 1-to-1 scale. So this is actually several years ago. This is down in Times Square, New York City. And they have built this massive, like real life kind of X-Wing made out of Lego. And so, yeah, would have been fun to go see it, but unfortunately did not have the time, and also did not want to stand in lines for hours to be able to get in to sit in it. So, all right, so this would be like I switch a new day. You built all those things, you found those things, we talk about them in class. Requirement number 3. So build one of those scales, right? So typically what I have people do is I'll have you build like your bedroom, or like your house, or build like a building that you're used to seeing, like your church or something like that. When you do that, I want people to be detail oriented, right? So make sure that you include the things that make that space unique. So in your bedroom, you're going to have a bed, maybe a dresser, a lamp, maybe a wastebasket, a carpet, like a rug or something like that. If you have a bookshelf, or if you have an entertainment stand, or whatever it is that makes your bedroom unique. If you have a fish tank, try to figure out how to make a fish tank. That can be fun. I've built several of them. All right, I think we talked about that one. Requirement number 4, choose one of the following. Use Lego as a visual aid in a children's story. And I purposely put this in there for 2 to 9, because if you're in Pathfinders, you should be 10 years or older. So you should be doing something for somebody younger than you. I think the final edit may have come out with that in there or not. Or use it in church or Sabbath school or another type of group. I think, yeah, okay, yeah. The next one down. I decided that I realized that not all Pathfinders are Adventists, and I really wanted this to be an honor that could kind of bridge Adventist to non-Adventist. And so I put in here school project. I've had several Pathfinders over the year that are non-Adventist, and their parents had been Adventists and had been in Pathfinders, and they were like, you know what, like the one thing I loved about church was being in Pathfinders, and I want to send my kid to Pathfinders. So for those kids, their parents might not have felt comfortable with them coming to church. And so to me, it was important that they still were able to get this honor and do this honor, even if their parents wouldn't let them go to church and have that Sabbath school or church experience. So I gave that option B of being able to use it in a school project. So something really important actually for that one, right now during this whole COVID stuff, create a video like this, share your models, do the last assignment and share it with your club or your pastor. Maybe if you're at a smaller church, maybe for children's story, they can share your video of why you love Lego, or how you can use Lego to tell others about God in your community. So, oh, yeah, here we go. Those are all zoomed in. I feel like I missed something in there. I think I missed requirement 4. There's maybe a typo in there that I need to go fix. If I missed one, I apologize. Anyways, build a scene from the Bible using Lego, one of the scales from one of the requirements that we just talked about. So this is actually a builder that put these 3 together. He has like a whole little book from scenes of the Bible, and you can tell he's done some photoshopping and stuff like that. We have Moses receiving the 10 Commandments, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and then the Last Supper there. So really fun, creative ways to share Bible stories using Lego. Requirement number 6. So from your imagination, you're gonna have to create 2 of these 5 categories. When I originally wrote it saying 3, and NAD was like, nah, let's maybe make that 2, right? We want to try to keep the time limit of how long it took to do all this. So I already showed you a ton of examples of cars. So here's my watercraft, which happens to be a Technic one. Aircraft. Well, I'll use this one since it's at hand. I'm building a spaceship, and this is the first part. This is the cockpit in the front of the spaceship. So there's my aircraft. And then I'll go back, I'll show land vehicle. Yep. And then brick built animal or plants. And this says at least 10 pieces. And so a lot of people are like, oh, that's super easy. Well, it can be, but if you're trying to make it look realistic, it can be hard sometimes. So here's my brick built animal. This one's actually made by Lego. So this is a Lego set. And you can see fun little dog. Trying to find an example. Oh yeah, here we go. So robot, So here's a tiny little robot made by Lego. I think it's about 8 pieces or so. Really, really simple, right? Maybe a little too simple for the purpose of the honor. But, you know, depending on what you're building, here's a guy with, you know, that's controlling it. You guys might recognize Benny from the Lego Space movie there. Or you can get a little more complex. I showed this guy briefly earlier. Another one that Lego has made with, you know, all sorts of like posable parts and arms and legs and heads that move around and stuff like that. So can really be creative with that. And that last one, I put machine or appliance without power functions. Putting power functions can cost a lot. So I really didn't want this to be an expensive honor to do the first time. If you have those parts and you want to do it with power functions, by all means, use the power functions, have a great time. But I didn't want it to be difficult. I want everyone to get in, enjoy it a little bit. And if they're passionate about it, then be passionate about it. If you don't like Lego and you don't find it interesting, then go find something else. I wrote the Odin honor, which is the dragonfly honor as well. So, you know, if you're not passionate about bugs, then don't go out and play with bugs, you know, play with Lego or vice versa. All right, here's a quick little view of some of the sets. This is a big set out right now. It's like 60 bucks. When I got it, it was only like 30 bucks. I use these usually when I'm teaching the honor. So if you buy one of these, this works pretty good. You can do almost all the requirements with just that one set. You do have to be a little bit creative. The set doesn't include a minifig, right? This is a minifig. Oh, that color's, I've got too much light here. Oh, good. There you go. So this is a minifig, right? And it's a lot easier if you have people to use in some of your models. So something to keep in mind. Here's a quick little look at aircraft or a helicopter that I built using that set. And you can tell there's a bunch of fun colors in all these pictures that are coming up because the set that has it, you know, you can see those are all the pieces inside of it. And actually, while I'm on that, here's another one that's similar. This one's going to be difficult. You can see here on the side, they show you the pieces and stuff. There's no wheels in this set. And there's not a lot of like hinge type pieces, so it can be really difficult to complete the requirements with just a set like this. So you might need like a set like this, and then maybe like, you know, like a set like this between the two of them to be able to get it done, kind of thing. Here's my Bible story requirement that I did with that same set. So this is kind of really fun. You have to use your imagination and look at it. This is the Battle of Jericho, and we've got Joshua and one of his buddies standing out in front of the door. We've got little tiny people with little yellow heads and like, you know, yellow arms and stuff like that. And you can actually see up in the window, you can see Rahab is up in the window with the little red cloth hanging down from the window. And there's destruction from the city. There's Lego blocks kind of scattered around and stuff like that. So using very few pieces to be able to tell a story. Here's another good one. Adam and Eve leaving the Garden of Eden with the angel there to guard the gateway, and he's got a big red flaming sword. I was very limited with these pieces, but you can still see I was able to build like two trees and a bush, 2 rock formations, 2 people, and then an angel with a, you know, glowing sword. So yeah, use your imagination. Here's a scale of a bedroom using that set. I've got like a little TV, a little lamp, books underneath there or something like that, like underneath the little kind of dresser or book stand, like a stereo unit kind of in the corner, kind of funky looking thing. I've got like a blue and white dresser on the left there with a little lamp on top of it. And then who knows, what is that? Like maybe perfume or something, that little pink thing sitting there. Just, you know, use your imagination. And then on the other dresser there, I've got like a little pink slope piece, which is like an old school phone somewhere in your grandparents' basement. You've probably seen one of these. And then like a little coffee cup there or something, and a wastebasket and a bed. And because of limited pieces, you can see I had to make my own base plate. And then I put like a little blue rug there to kind of hold the base plate and the little plates together to make it all work. So this is one of my favorite ones that I built. So this is kind of like sunrise morning, like this is like Sabbath morning after the day of creation, or the week of creation has come to an end, and Adam and Eve are just kind of chilling in Eden there. And you can see there's a little river and a sunrise or whatever, and the two of them are there. She's got little pink and he's got gray. Of course, they didn't have clothes yet back then, but that's another story. You can see their little yellow heads. And then in the water, there's like flamingos and stuff like that. So yeah, anyways, here's a little spaceship, just kind of crazy, use your imagination. I'm a huge fan of space. I would love to go to space. If it was affordable, I would probably, jump on one of these flights and go fly around the world. Here's a little robot that I made using the same pieces, and this was extremely hard to do even for me. So, try not to be too critical of yourself when you're making a robot if you don't have a lot of movable pieces. It can be really hard to get those, legs and everything to work. Use something like this maybe as your base model, and then, create your own off of those type of connections that are that you're used to building. This little robot, of course, only has movable arms, so not as interesting, but still kind of fun. Car that I did, complete with third or fifth wheel on the back of it for your spare tire. Has headlights, tail lights, side mirrors, even like runners along the bottom. So just be really creative when you do that. Prop plane, and you can see here once again limited by color pieces. One thing to notice on this, you'll see the wings are bricks being built out. So this is a good example of studs not on top. All the bricks are stacked up on each other to come out to make wings. Plants. So this is just fun. You can count the number of angled connections on there. Just a unique looking kind of flower, very simplistic, but when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's a flower, right? Doesn't have to be complicated. So here's another really complicated kind of flower in a way, but using the same, box. I've got bricks all stacked up on for the stem, and then I've got these little hinge pieces making the flower pop out and giving it that depth to make it interesting to look at. All right, animal, dragonfly, right? He's got the big eyes, mandibles, cerces, leg, and you're asking like, what's the cerces? Go do the dragonfly on her, the Odin's on her. Cerces is the little hook on the end of the tail. So, all right, the last part of this is you have to be able to share your story, right? You have to find some way of using Lego to connect with others. We can all sit in our house and not go out, but God hasn't called us to do that, right? God has told us we need to go out and minister. So put on your protective gloves, put on your mask, put on your face shield if you need to, but go out and evangelize. Nurses and doctors have been working through this pandemic, and they have had frontline access to be able to evangelize. And I know right now as a community, we may be struggling with police and paramedics and firemen, but they are also out there trying to do their best. And there are not good policemen that should not be policing, just like there are probably good Pathfinder leaders and not so good Pathfinder leaders that should not be volunteering in Pathfinders. So I encourage those police that should not be policing to go find another way to be helpful in your community. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah. So share your story, how you witness. I think I shared this briefly at the beginning, but I wrote this honor because of the opportunity that I had to evangelize and share my faith. So I'm going to hop off screen here and grab one of my larger sets. Oh. This is one of my larger sets. It's been together for a while. I built this, I think 2016, and it's a church. We were doing a snowy village for the Oklahoma Lego user group. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to share my faith. So I built this church. You can see on the front there, oh, it might be hard to get my angles. There we go. There's a little black lettering, and it says 1844 to shout out there to the Great Disappointment. So this is kind of like amalgamation of every Adventist church that I've kind of ever been to, complete with people inside, a little sound booth, even a baptistry, bathroom, all sorts of stuff like that. A little gazebo out front. You can also see in the back there, there's a pine tree, a good example of using 10 or more pieces to create a plant. So, and it also has lights inside of it, but I didn't have it plugged in for this purpose today. You'll also notice that there was a choir on the front steps. I used to sing with the Durham Baptist Choir for like 10, 12 years. And so very, very passionate about sharing music and Christ in many different ways and not just in one way. Let's see, whoops. I think my share screen expired.
Sorry, I took it off because I wanted to see that.
Oh, okay. Oops. There we go. Okay. So here's this big angel I was telling you guys about. I actually ended up with like the best lighting I could have asked for. On Saturday night, they shut off kind of all the main convention lights. And there's a few emergency lighting throughout the convention floor. And my angel was like right underneath this spotlight, you know. And so not only did I have lights built into it and stuff like that, but there was just this kind of like spotlight right in the center of it. And this is up on top of a 3-foot tall folding table, and it's 6.5 feet tall. So you can imagine 10 feet up into the air, glowing with this light shining down onto it. So really cool experience. The two images to the right there, you can see I have just a little bit of the base. I had a much larger base around it with plants and spaceships and creatures and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So that was the model that inspired this honor. So, and to give you a scale perspective, you can see down at the bottom, there's a little tiny neon green circle. That is a little capsule or whatever, windscreen or whatever, that a minifigue's sitting inside of. So that gives you an idea of how big that is. Or if you have a parent that's 6 foot tall, you know that this is taller than your parent. So, so the great beyond, make sure that you take pictures of your stuff, that you video it. It's really cool to kind of keep pictures so that you can actually see your stages of growth. I go back and I look at things that I built 20 years ago versus what I build now. And it is just amazing to see the difference of how my skills have grown over the years. And yeah, and how God has blessed me with creativity and really just, yeah, it's fun. Anyways, here's a big castle that I built. It was a castle that had hinges that allowed it to turn in on itself and become a tower. And same thing there, you can see little red dots. Those little red dots are little minifigures. So that gives you an example of that. My username or nickname is the last 4 letters of my last name, Rook, which is one of the figures on a chess set, which also is like a castle piece on a chess set. So I had this Rook's Rook that was this tower castle kind of crazy sci-fi fantasy thing with spaceships, and I think there's even, oh yeah, there's a chapel in it. You can see at the bottom corner of the castle, like one, there's a little red cross, and that's a stained glass window inside the chapel in there. So I was already sharing little bits of my Christianity in a lot of my builds, and just kind of creating those opportunities for people to talk to me about God. So, if you're still curious about Lego, I strongly recommend looking into First Lego League. We have Adventist Robotics. So Adventist Robotics League was approved by First to basically have competitions on Sunday instead of Saturday, so that we didn't have to go compete on Saturday. So strongly recommend checking them out. Some of our schools have them, some of them don't. Check out lego.com if you want to buy stuff. Eurobricks is or was the world's largest English-speaking Lego fan forum. I used to be really involved in that. I changed jobs. My access to computer throughout the day changed. And so I haven't been involved with the Lego community online as much as I wanted to be for the last few years, but yeah. And then inspiration, there is a great site called the Brothers Brick that kind of blog posts some of the best Lego builds that are kind of seen around the world. So if you want to just be inspired by absolutely amazing stuff, that's where I recommend going and checking out. Pathfinder sources and links. So pathfindersonline.org, investiture achievement. There's a wiki, and then some other helpful resources, Brickset and Bricklink. Brickset is like an online catalog that helps you look at different sets throughout the years. So lego.com will just have products that they're selling right now, but Brickset is kind of like a history through Lego, and you can kind of go back and see stuff from previous years, and that's really fun. You know, you can click on Star Wars and then scroll through by year and look at all the sets each year, and you can see how they started out just really kind of blocky and grainy to now they're so massive and molded and just every little detail kind of thing. So and then Bricklink is an online shopping place where you can buy stuff by individual elements. So if I wanted to buy, you know, I did the same thing. This is hard to see here. So if I wanted to buy like one little gray disc, I could buy one little gray disc like this, or I could buy 1,000 of them because I'm going to build something that I need to, you know, cover the whole thing. So yeah, that's the end of my slideshow. So that means we can stop sharing screen and we can probably go to questions, unless there's something else you guys want me to cover.
All right, so we do have questions, and even I have some questions because I love building Legos as well. So let me ask this question for you before I get to how, when you purchase a Lego set, and where do you put, where should you set up so that you don't have Legos falling into the carpet and things like that? And what do you do first? Do you open every bag, or do you leave it in separate bags? Do you stack all the Lego pieces? That's my question.
Okay.
How do you start?
So some of the sets, especially the larger sets, are nice because they have like numbered bags. And so it's really easy. You just open up one little bag and you build one bag at a time. Some of them don't have that, and you just have to dump out pieces. Some people will take an hour or two and go through and just organize all the pieces before they start building. I'm not a patient person, so I dig. As far as where to build, so the easiest thing actually is to just buy some plain fabric, or to take a bed sheet and lay a bed sheet down over the surface that you're going to build on. You'll see back in a few photos there was a black surface that was on the background for some pictures that I took. I just went to like Hobby Lobby and got like, you know, 10, 20 feet of black fabric. And I use that not only as a backdrop to shoot Lego models on, but I put it on the table, and that little bit of friction from the fabric will help keep pieces from rolling around as much, because the, you know, like your dining room table surface is really smooth. And if you put a round piece on it and it's just slightly to the left, you know, all of a sudden, there goes all your pieces rolling off. And yeah, carpet, you know, there's some carpet that, you know, it's a little kind of micro stuff and it's fine. Or you might have some really nasty carpet like I have right now that's, you know, old and really tall, and then you're digging down in there trying to pull pieces out and who knows what else. And so yeah, being considerate of where you're building. On your bed actually is a really good place, because if you have it made or everything off the bed, you have that flat surface of the sheet and stuff like that, and then your weight kind of will keep pieces from rolling off the bed. But then you also run into the problem of pieces rolling underneath you, and that moment of panic when you think that Lego didn't send you a piece, and then you realize it's been stuck to your leg for 2 hours, you know. So yeah, did that answer all your questions?
That answered it, and you also revealed that I'm not the only one that goes through the panic of, oh my goodness, did I get a set that's missing a piece? All right.
And on that note, if you are missing a piece, go to lego.com. There is customer service stuff. Typically, they can send you a replacement piece for any piece that's missing.
Awesome.
Very important thing to know.
Awesome.
Not always, but typically. So
nice. Jure asks, is there a place where you can get Legos cheap?
So actually, one of the best places to get Legos cheap is in your own neighborhood. People have yard sales, And there are all sorts of ways to find out about yard sales. There's like Craigslist, there's Facebook shop, market or whatever. And going and getting somebody's used Lego is probably the best and worst way to get cheap Lego. It's the best because you're going to save tons of money, but it's also the worst because not everyone treats their Lego with respect. So when you buy it and you're like, oh, look, I can see that there's this, portion there because I can see part of it. And then you find out that the stickers were put on horribly and then they were chewed on, and then like this wheel never made it in there because this wheel is somewhere in a vent inside the person's house, right? So that expectation of having all those pieces there can be difficult because not all the pieces are there. So if you're willing to just buy pieces because they're going to be pieces that you want to use in something else, it can be great. But if you're wanting to have a whole set, buying it at a yard sale is a bad idea. Then you also have dirty stuff. And then you have something that's very important to keep in mind. You'll notice in this, I have a lot of stuff that has the word Lego in caps. That's because that is a brand name. So this honor is written because it's a brand name. There are lots of other types of building blocks out there like Mega Blocks, Creo, Best Lock. Those companies have great sets, but their precision in measurements and in quality of plastics is not as high as Lego. And that's why Lego has been around for so long and their product is good for so long. I have Lego I'm 42 now. I have Lego that was my oldest brother's, so it's almost 50 years old probably, that still connects with pieces that I bought yesterday. And that is the quality of Lego. When you buy something like a Mega Block set, sometimes when you're building it, the pieces won't even hold together as you're building it brand new because their measurements aren't to as high of quality standards. And so this is where I bring in kind of that, Seventh-day Adventist Christianity thing. We hold ourselves to a higher standard, and this is why I wrote this honor to be done with Lego product. If you want to do it with any other product, that's perfectly fine. Do it, enjoy it, have a great time. But know that in the process of saving money, you're also giving up quality, right? So something to keep in mind.
All right, so I think that answers.
Yeah, and what I was going to show is this little angel that was on top of the church has a bow that's made by a third party. So this is not a Lego product, but it is a Lego compatible product. So I do have a few of those items in my collection. There's friends of mine that run stores like that make their own thing that can be really fun and really unique. But just be aware of who you're buying from and that they're a good source. Yeah.
So I think that kind of answers some people who asked why are Legos so expensive. You basically said because of the high quality and all of that. So
I'll see if you can, I did it again. I'm going to grab this one. I don't think I've used her yet. So, and I say her just under presumption, most people associate pink with girls. The hand, right? The measurement in between one side of the hand and the other side of the hand is so precise. The number of hands that Lego makes that they have to throw away that don't fit their precise measurements are so ridiculously tiny that no other company basically has that precision of measurement. There are very few companies, especially toy companies, that use that precision. You're talking, 1/100th of a millimeter precision. And that's really key when it comes to, this little gun or whatever, being able to clip into this guy's hand over and over and over for at least 5 to 10 years, if not 20, 30, 40 years. So, yeah.
Wow. All right. Somebody asked, how long did it take you to build that church that you showed us?
Oh, 2 days. And out of those 2 days, maybe like 3-4 hours each day. I built the gray part in one day, and then I built the roof in the second day. So, yeah.
And can I give a little comment here that when you build something as great as that, there's a bittersweet feeling in the sense that, oh man, I built it and it looks great, and also, oh man, I'm done.
Yeah. Done. And also then what do you do with the pieces afterwards, right? So I use this as an example. I think this set was roughly about $50. It has 2 cars and a little thing. So this car alone, is $15 to $20, right? And to put it on your shelf, it's not a big deal, right? It's like it's cool, it's fun. Put 200 sets on your shelf and let them collect dust. Put 1,000 sets on your shelf and let them collect dust. Some people just want to collect and they want to show the models, but for me, it's about building and about being creative. And so when I'm done with stuff, usually I'll rip it apart, and that's the hardest part. But at the same time, it's a good life lesson in knowing that nothing in this life is permanent. Everything changes. Just when you think everything's going perfect, life's going to change. All of a sudden, all of us were locked in our houses, for a month or 2 at a time. And now some of us are starting to go back out, and then people are getting sick again, and it's like, should we go out? Should we not go out? Right? Life is about constant change and being able to adapt. And this honor particularly works really good when you're stuck at home, when you're sick at home and you can't go to school, when you have COVID and you can't go out and spend time with others. When you live in Canada and outside there's a wind chill of -40, which is the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius. So having a hobby like this that you can do indoors and not only throughout the year, but throughout your lifetime is really important. There are some hobbies that, like a good example, I'll use bird watching. My father's a big bird watcher. And it can be miserable to do when it's 100 degrees outside or when it's, -20, -30. And so that's something you have to think about. Like, what do I want to do? I have severe asthma and allergies and stuff like that. And so going out and seeing birds in the spring and having my eyes all crusted shut, it's not enjoyable, right? So for me, having an indoor hobby is super important.
So I know the answer to this, but I'll leave it to you, Professor. Somebody asked, do I have to buy a whole set to get a minifigure, or can I purchase a minifigure by itself?
You can. So the minifigs by themselves, like, actually I'll use, there we go. I'll grab this guy. Yep. So here's my little policeman. This policeman was part of a polybag set that was out. I think he was part of a polybag set that was out a few years ago. Those little polybag sets are like usually $3.99, $4.99. Sometimes you'll find them on clearance for 99 cents. You can buy minifigs online by themselves. And this is where it gets scary. I know I have at least one minifig in my set that is extremely expensive because of how rare it is. Several years ago, Lego did like 10,000 gold type figs, and people were searching for them and practically killing each other to find them. Several of my friends found. There are a few like solid gold minifigs that they had a jeweler make once that gets really expensive. So you can spend literally, $1 to hundreds of dollars on a minifig, depending on what it is. And do you need minifigs to complete the honor? Absolutely not. I showed the little examples of how I made my own little brick built type minifigs. Even this little robot guy, I could take this off, and put like a little round thing on there and just pretend that's a person if I wanted to for my story, right? There are custom minifigs out there. One of my friends does Clone Army customs and does custom stormtroopers and stuff like that. And I had him do a bunch of custom stuff for me years ago, which helped, I think, launch his business, and which he's forever grateful for, and yet at the same time very angry at me because I have some of his prototypes of the very first ones that he made. There's Delta Squad, I think, off of Star Wars. His very first 4 that he made, I think I have like right behind me and probably like that bin. And he would probably, want them back, but he knows at this point he's never going to get them back, So yeah, something to keep in mind.
All right. Somebody's asking if there is an advanced for this or a level 2 to Lego, or is it just?
I did not write an advanced honor. I kind of, in my mind when I was writing it, I was thinking the Lego Robotics Honor was kind of like the advanced level. So maybe that's what I would challenge you to do if you've done the Lego Honor and you're looking for a challenge. Do the Robotics Honor and use one of the Lego Robotics kits. That stuff is complicated. You're putting computers, math, science, all sorts of stuff into Lego. And then the fun thing is you can use these same elements to do other stuff. There's this little, computer part. There's a video out there of one of these little magic boxes or whatever that every time you touch it, it will do something different, right? And so, you don't have to be stuck to whatever the robotic stuff is that you want to do, whatever the set tells you that you can do with it. You can kind of create your own thing. There's what's called the Great Ball Contraption. And this is awesome. It's basically a modular thing that you can build a little module that goes in and lines up with a bunch of other modules. And all they do is they pass little tiny soccer balls or, whatever type of balls, basketballs, along from one module to the other. And how you move that piece from one module to another is up to each individual creativity, and so I strongly recommend Googling that and watching it, and you just watching these little balls go around for hours and through all the different machinery and stuff. Like there's so many things that you can do with it. But I almost throw that out there as a challenge to maybe some of my Pathfinders now. I don't know if I'll ever take the time to do it, but maybe it's your turn to write the advanced Lego honor. So yeah, it's not my honor. I wrote it for Pathfinders. So, it's up to the community. It's up to you guys on what you want to do with Lego.
Awesome. Chelsea asks, what's the favorite model that you've ever made?
Oh man, I can easily tell you the favorite model that I never got to make. I believe it's 1978. There's a yellow castle, and I do not own it. I have never owned it. I've been very tempted to buy it now as an adult. The price of Lego goes up, every year, and the older stuff is, the more collectible it becomes. So that's that one set that kind of got away that I would love to build. That was the one that when I was a little kid, I always wanted. The most memorable model for me, I want to say it was probably 1986 or 1987. There was a huge gray castle that they made, and all three of us brothers, we just wanted this, big gray castle and stuff. And it's Christmas morning, and we're opening up presents, and there it is. And back then, this set was almost $100, I think, which is really expensive because I think minimum wage back then would have probably only been $2-3 an hour. I know in early 90s it was about $4 an hour. So 80s, wasn't too much different. So it was an expensive set, and we were just all ecstatic and stuff, but Christmas wasn't over. And we opened up the gift from our grandparents, and it was the same castle. So we had two of these massive castles, and they opened up like on the back, so that the two back towers kind of swung out to the sides of the main entrance. And you could actually back the two of them up together to have this even bigger castle. And I was just small enough at that point that I could sit inside the two castles put together back to back. So I was like inside my own little Lego castle. So I think that's probably one of my biggest favorite Lego sets. So,
yeah. Okay. Oh,
and I could go into numerous modern sets as well.
Because the next question was, what was the biggest and the longest you've ever taken building one, and the biggest one you've ever made?
So my wife built the Big Falcon, and she was in school at the time and working full time as well. And she did it throughout the whole summer. I think the longest set for me has been 2-3 days to build. And it's one of these large sets, and I think total amount of time was probably 5-6 hours at least. And sitting in one place for 6 to 8 hours can be very difficult. The large stuff that I have built to take to conventions, the Angel, I did like 4 spaceships called the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I did a 13-foot long spaceship called the Spear of Destiny. I did a big space station called Project Genesis. Each one of those projects were 6-month-long projects. I typically started at Christmas break and then displayed them in June in Chicago or in Toronto or Oklahoma City. So.
Wow. Wow. Pathfinder's 13 feet, man. That is.
Yeah. And I was able to pick it up. There's a video out there of me picking it up. So
wow. I'm
Google Lego Spear of Destiny, maybe Rolf Holbrook, and it might show up. So
I'm going to Google that, because the longest I've taken, me and my brother, it took us a week to do the Millennium Falcon. So yeah, that was the longest it took us. So and that's the biggest I've ever done. So yeah, all right, everybody. So I think that's to the end. We have to, we're going to open up the chat, and we are going to say thank you so much to our professor, Rolf Holbrook, for teaching us the Lego honor. And Dr. Abe is with us, so I'm sure he has some words to say.
Real quick, I wanted to invite a friend of mine to join us on screen. I told you guys about the masks, and she has an awesome mask ministry. It's a small business that she started. It is an opportunity of being able to wear something that is a mask which can protect you, but also have the Pathfinder and Adventure logo on it, which is an awesome opportunity to do ministry and just share about Pathfinders and Adventurers. She was also responsible for connecting us with this awesome instructor. So Saber, if you're here, I'm gonna ask you to raise your hand where you are, because I want to bring you on screen. All right, I see her. Let's go ahead and promote her to be a panelist. Actually, Eric, I don't have the host privileges, so can you promote her to be a panelist? Her hand is raised. All right, let's welcome Saber, one of the valued members of our team and our Lake Region Conference family. All right, so Saber, you just got to turn on your camera. All right, let's welcome Saber and her family. Hey, yeah.
Nick. We got Adventure and Pathfinder masks going on. We also have, hey guys, the rest of you, we even have some Pathfinders here at our house. They spent the night. There's a few of them.
No, we've been watching. We've been watching.
Anyway, that was awesome, Rolf. That was really great to hear it from you. We did the Lego honor back in 2004 or 5, something like that.
We did a scale model of Noah's Ark.
Not 2004 or 5. It was 2014.
14, yeah.
Yeah, 2014. Sorry.
2014 is when it became approved.
Yeah, so. When the first year it became approved, and it was really neat to go through. We one of our scale size things that we did was the Noah's Ark. So yeah,
I think we had to do that over like 3 different meetings. So
yeah, we kept it there. We actually had to borrow Legos from a Lego fanatic friend. So yeah, it was fun, real fun.
Man, that is awesome. Listen, do you guys see the masks? Eric, can you spotlight their video? I want them to see these masks. These masks are durable masks. They don't have one layer. They are they can cover your face completely. They come underneath the chin. They enclose the nose perfectly. There are even different options of how you can wrap it around your head. So I mean, do you guys see that? Double layered. Do you guys see that? They're comfortable. They don't hurt your face. All right. Yep, and there are different options of how you can put it around your ear. So you guys have to make sure you get one. They're available for a limited time. If you go onto the Club Ministries Academy website, you can go down on the homepage and you can find an option. They're very affordable. I'm actually encouraging our Pathfinders to not just buy them for yourselves, buy them for a friend. Make sure you get one. So I'm gonna rock the Pathfinder one. My wife is gonna rock the Adventure one. I'm getting online to order mine now, and I'm challenging a few of you guys to join us in ordering some. It's something awesome, and it's something we plan to keep even after COVID. So make sure you guys get one now. All right, that's right. Make sure. And once again, man, we are so grateful for the honor of being able to have Saber with us on our team, her amazing family, and also most of all, we're so glad to have our instructor today. He has been awesome. Let's highlight our instructor again. We're so grateful to have him with us. Thank you for taking out the time. We give you our Pathfinder salute today, all of our Pathfinders, and we're grateful for your ministry. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite all of our Pathfinders as you venture off in creating some Lego figurines. We want to show Ralph exactly what you're able to do. So we're going to encourage you guys to make sure you tag Lake Union Club Ministries on whatever you do on Instagram, post on our Facebook. Let us see what you've learned, the skills you're developing. Let us see whether you did something amazing or whether it horribly failed. So I'm going to be showing some before and after pictures of what we do at our house, all right? And we're sure we want to share that with Ralph Holbrook, all right? Thank you again for your ministry. Ralph, you want to say any closing words to us?
Pretty simple. Just love Pathfinders. Do what you want to do with Pathfinders. Pathfinders is meant to be diverse in every single aspect, whether you like doing the honors, like whether you like doing the classwork, whether you just want to go out and march 8 hours a day, do whatever it is in Pathfinders that just makes you happy. And talk to your Pathfinder leaders about it, right? If there is something that you don't like or something that's not working out, talk to your Pathfinder leaders. I had a Pathfinder of mine that came to me several years ago, and she said, Rolf, look, like school's too much, you know, I'm in high school now, like I can't make it work. And I said, you know what? I don't care. Come for one night a year, if that's the only night you can make it, right? Like, I want you to be a part of this club. And so, yeah, be involved in whatever you can be involved in. And yeah, you might not get all the honors and you might not get your class ranks and all that kind of stuff, but God has a purpose in your life, and Pathfinders can help you find it.
Man, perfectly well said. Perfectly well said. Well, Pathfinders, go out there, have fun, and learn. In a second, we're going to pray, but Coordinator E, I think you were going to provide a password to some of our students who are frantic.
Yes.
They want the password.
They want the password. They want the password because they want to get the hookup and see all these wonderful how to make Legos and all those things. So guess what the password is for today? It is the handle for our professor, which is Rook, R-O-O-K. So I was thinking of Brick, but let's use his handle because guess what, guys? Not only are we ending, I'm going to be checking out his stuff. I've already looking up his stuff on YouTube, and he is a big star in the Lego world. He is a Lego celebrity. He is on podcasts for Legos. He is invited to conventions for Legos. I didn't know this. He is the Lego. This is the Kim Kardashian of Legos, man. So I'm going to be following this guy. I'm going to be checking out his stuff. And wherever he's at, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rook, I'm going to be checking it out because I'm a Lego nerd too. So Rook is the password. Put it into the email, pathfinders@lrcsda.com. You will get this honor. All right. God bless.
God bless. Saber, you want to say anything before we go?
No, not really. I kind of echo though what Rolf said, that anybody can join, even if it's just for one time a year. We've had those Pathfinders, and we still keep in touch with them, and they love Pathfinders. We actually took some that had never come with us to one, the Lake Union Camporee, and two, to the Oshkosh Camporee this last time. And then they haven't been with us the rest of the year, but they had that experience, and they've grown in their spiritual life through it. So
man, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for what you guys do. And guys, Coordinator King came and joined us, so he's gonna call us to prayer attention. This is our honorary coordinator. All right, he's gonna join us at prayer attention as we close off in prayer. All right, no hugs and kisses right now, buddy. We're praying. All right, let's pray, everybody. Father in heaven, we are so grateful for the opportunity that we had to be able to learn that Lego is a form of communication. Yes, it's something where we can have fun, but it's also a way that we can share our faith. And we pray in a special way as we venture to learn a new skill and to have a good time and to share Jesus, that you blessed us. Father, we thank you for the close of this weekend's honors as we look forward to our honor on Thursday, which is the poultry honor. We ask that you'll keep us until then. We thank you for these things. In Jesus' name we pray. Let everyone say amen. In the chat section, type the words amen. All right, all right, all right. We're going to let you guys, we know social distancing time. We're going to let y'all hang out in the chat room with your friends for a few moments in supervised chat. All right. So you guys will be supervising the chat room for a few moments.